I need to put
And
I need to pull
away
up
we
a thing.
go. We're live. We're live. We're live. We're live. We're live.
So
We're
say a prayer.
live.
Look, we'll say a prayer that I get clarification on that because that is rolling out this week.
I pray
Oh,
clarification
that's us.
on what you need
All
to
right.
know.
I was waiting to put us on my phone. Good morning. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? Ladies, what's up? What's up? Oh,
Good morning, everybody. How are you doing?
good
Hopefully, you are
morning.
joining us and watching the show, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook. And then we will be posting this to LinkedIn as well.
Oh,
Um, yeah. So we like to just say good morning, everyone. And
good morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Remember the song Hello? How are you? And how do you do? I remember that song. Oh my goodness. Um anyway, it's an overcast day in Atlanta today. I don't know if it's going to rain. I got to check the thing, but I had a full day yesterday. I have a full day tomorrow, and I
Mm,
think I have like I'm just gonna do like wash my hair and paint my toes or something today, something like that. But that's it. Because I was
okay.
full today. I've been working every day, even on set and off set. And so yesterday literally was a full day. Did you see your thing I sent you, Michael?
What?
I mean, did you? Well, I did some work on the outline.
Oh,
So
okay, okay.
yeah,
But you
whenever
emailed me.
no,
You
huh?
you emailed me.
No.
Then how you gonna
Just
send it
open
to
it.
me? It's an open document. You easy guy like, hey, go look at the document. You know?
Right. Remember I said you can look at the document later after I tweak it or
Oh
whatever.
man,
And then
I
I said
went to
I'll
sleep.
let you know. What I said was I'll let you know. And then after I talked to you, I said, oh, he probably know I'm tweaking it because I called you and asked you that question.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's tweaked. I did tweak it.
Okay.
So you can look at it and see what you think about what I've tweaked and why my brain was going. So I did that last night as well.
Right.
So,
No, I feel you. Thank you very much.
um, but yes. So you want to bring us in?
Oh, you know what? I guess maybe I should bring us in. I don't know.
I don't
Maybe.
know.
Here we go, y'all. Let's do this. Hey, welcome to the Saturday morning indie industry shop talk. I'm your host, Michael Melvin, my co-host, Tamira TK Henderson. The Black Filmmakers Lounge is where we're at. It's an independent filmmaker or interdependent filmmaker, whether you're a novelist or professional, come together to gain insight, perspective through education, information, networking, and to discuss industry best practices that will advance the Black interdependent film community. Once again, I'm Michael Melvin, and this is Tamira TK Henderson. Ta-da! See how my hands got it right?
Ta-da! Uh-oh.
Opposite. Yeah.
Ta-da!
So we are hanging out with you guys today. Marshall, how are you doing
Hey,
today? Good morning.
Marshall!
It's been a while since we talked too. We need to catch up. We need to talk about we need to bring y'all on for the Detroit Black Film Festival so y'all can
Oh, come on.
discuss that. So we need to bring you on. Um, so
Yes.
come hang out with us. Let me know. Let me know when you're available.
Yes. When is the entry starting? I did post it. One day she posted it. When does the submission start?
Yeah, we need to get that going.
Absolutely.
Matter of fact, the funny thing is, we're going to be kind of talking about film criteria, like what you should look at your film and even ask people about for your film so you can get an idea of audience response and, uh, perspective. Because there was this picture um, about John Singleton's Boys in the Hood and how it was rejected, right, by Orion Films, or how it had low ratings. So I'll post that during the show a little later when we're talking about a subject. Because today's topic is We Are Black History. because it is Black History Month and we are Black independent or Black interdependent filmmakers. And we talk about filmmaking from a perspective. So we're going to have that conversation today. So, good morning, TK. How you doing today? Scott,
I'm
what's going on?
good. I'm good, I'm good. I didn't watch anything because I was on set. And then when I wasn't on set, I was working on set stuff and other stuff. So I did not watch one commercial this
Mm.
week. So I'm empty when it comes to what I watched. But I've
Oh,
been
wow.
working. But I've been working.
We might both be in
I've been
trouble on that
working.
one.
Listen.
Okay. I
Oh,
watched
you
The
ready?
Bad Batch. I did watch
Okay.
that because I'm always watching that. I didn't watch much of anything else. Oh, Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. Still watching that. That
Yes, I
that
gotta
is on
watch
Disney
that.
Plus and
I'm
Disney
gonna do
XD. I enjoy it. Raphael Sadiq does the music for it. Frida Winfrey plays the grandmother. Um, man, it I enjoy it. Like I know it's for kids. That's the thing. So it's not really an adult based cartoon. It's really for young boys and girls. It's a good STEM cartoon. She's very intelligent, middle schooler basically. Uh, and I like it. There's some musical segments in there, but the music
I
is
like the
good. The music is
dialogue
good.
just from the trailer, the dialogue was like she's like, no, you're not. And she said, why can't she's like not dressed like that?
Yeah, her
I mean,
best
like
friend.
the dialogue, she was like, we got to keep this on the what she say the D because my family will go crazy. Like just the dialogue was so because it's that stigma of because you're smart, you have to be and act and talk a certain way. No, I could still talk like I talk and still be super smart. The
Yeah,
way I
there.
talk has nothing to do with how smart I am or how smart I'm not.
And you know what? It's empowering. There was an episode where a girl says something about her hair, and her mother and grandmother kind of educate her on her importance of her hair, loving her hair, because loving your hair and taking care of your hair is taking care of yourself. And um, when the girl says something about her hair, she comes up with a chemical of her own to straighten her hair out,
Oh.
and the hair comes alive. It is, and I'm not gonna say
Wow.
nothing else, but
Okay.
the whole premise is, again, it's about empowerment. It's empowering. I like it. What's up, Darrell? How you doing, man?
Hey,
So
Darrell.
I like it. And I think it's something that we have to always consider with our stuff. You know what I mean? Like when you make something, you're empowering people. You're doing something that's going to change lives, and we have to look at it that way. However, welcome to the Saturday morning in the industry shop talk. Again, I'm your host, Michael Melvin, with my co-host Tamira TK Henderson, and we're talking today about We Are Black History, um, especially for filmmakers. We definitely are about Black history, and yeah, Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. I am thoroughly enjoying it. So, okay, Bel Air started on
Bel Air
Thursday. Didn't
started.
get to watch it. Tiffany and I are supposed to watch it. We'll probably watch it this afternoon or evening.
Okay.
Uh, something else I'm trying to think comes
BMF is
along.
well, we talked about that. BMF is
Yeah,
back, right?
BMF is on. We haven't been watching it like we normally would. I don't know why. Just, but matter of fact, speaking of BMF, did you see the article about 50 Cent buying a studio in Louisiana?
Well, they
Actually
said he was
reposted at Shreveport.
touring. Yeah,
Huh?
they said he was touring several studios, and that was one of the studios he was touring because he
Millennium
has been
Studios.
enlisted to or signed a deal with Fox to create content.
Right. And then, you know, it's stuff that we should be thinking about, because there's another one. There's a black woman in Atlanta. Got to remember her name.
I think it's
I,
Tammy Williams.
and she has a $135 million
Or
studio.
she was buying. She was buying the land to build it,
Yeah,
like the plans.
yeah.
Yeah, so she's
And
working on it.
and so I would love to bring her on, man. Um, because this is what we're talking about. This is the stuff we need. That's Black history,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
Ownership. We are now. Some of these people are industry people, and what I mean by industry, 50 Cent is going to be dealing with Fox Studios. Um, Fox owns Tubi, people. In case you didn't know, they bought it in 2020.
Mhm.
I like to let people know, because you should always know who owns what, right?
Right.
Because you're seeking contracts with these companies, and unfortunately, what people tend to do is have the desire to talk a little too much, critiquing every single thing, but you don't know who you're dealing with business wise. So you want to be aware. You can respectfully critique and give feedback on what your thoughts. But there's some ways we do it in a manner. There's just, if it's some people who do business wouldn't do a business with you, you know. So yeah. What do you think, TK? We are Black history. What do you got to say? Because we spent the last 3 weeks watching Black films that were much older to us.
3 years ago, I actually wrote that down, and I was supposed to post it
Mm-hmm.
about that we are Black history. So interesting that when you said that, I was like, oh, that was the 3 years ago I wrote that down that I was going to post it and never did, because us creating stuff is legacy. Us creating, I literally got a message from a movie I co-wrote 9 years ago asking me to talk to them and guide about guidance and stuff in this
Mm-hmm.
industry. And it was based off me being a part of a movie. So it's like you create it, and it's kind of like YouTube. You
Okay.
create it, and then somebody watches it 5 years later, and they're like, "Oh my God, this was right on time. I needed this." And when we create content,
Mm,
I always, of course, I always talk about the world didn't give us this gift. We were gifted,
right.
and at an appointed time, it will be used in the appropriate manner. And so, that creating history is what we do because we're creating content. When we talked, when you mentioned Boys in the Hood, I think we're almost at year 30 at least. That Boys in the Hood,
Yeah.
even
Is it 30 years? Wow.
I think, if I'm not, because I went
Yeah.
to a 20,
I mean, yeah. I
I
mean, I
went to
can't
a
remember how
25
old I
year
was
old
when I saw it. I think
thing.
I was like in Taylor tail end of high school, I think, when I saw it, or my first year in college. I got to remember when it came out.
1991.
91,
91.
right? So I
So
was in
yep,
high school. Yeah.
yep. So 32. This is 32 years for it. So, but it's a movie that still sticks with us. We still watch. That's still in our hearts. And so and we look at John Singleton. So just think, in the next 30 years, someone is going to be looking at Darrell Williams, Marshall Favors. Somebody's going to be looking at
Hmm.
Thomas Carter. Somebody's going to be looking at Tanya Randall. Somebody's going to be looking at, I mean, acting like Tanya. Somebody's going to be looking at Michael Melvin. Somebody's going to be looking at T.K. Henderson, Brandon E. Brooks. You know,
Derek
Derek
Hammond.
Hammond. 30 years, somebody's going to be looking at your work and studying it. And that's why we do what we do at the best of our caliber, because it is not just for today, but it is for legacy, because we are Black history. So we do it at a certain standard. That's why I'm always, me in the standards. So, yeah. So when you think about that, we look at our, like, okay, I'm writing this script. Oh, this, and that. Okay, I'm making this movie. But listen, it is history. It is Black
Hmm.
history, and it's American history. So that's what I got to say
Right.
about that.
Yeah. No. And I'm glad you said that, and I'm glad you shared that, because we do need to consider what we're putting out there. When it's not to be perfect or anything like that, but how we impact. And I think my biggest gripe is the critique aspect of it. There's too many of us who got a lot to say about what others do, right?
Right.
And um, where there's lack, there's opportunity. This is an entertainment business, but it also educates at the same time. We have documentaries, we have shorts, We have features that uh, support a narrative that people aren't used to. Like, there's a lot of people who didn't know about the story of Hidden Figures until the movie came out. They didn't even know
Absolutely.
she existed and the other women. And they didn't know black women were called computers back then,
I had no idea.
you know. So before a computer was a computer, black women were computers.
Come on.
You get what I'm saying? So
They were computers. Come
you know,
on.
we are still the group who does a lot of firsts. Still,
Yeah.
you know, um, in my when we do the news for the school I teach at, like, it's Black History Month, so they're learning about a black airline pilot who they didn't want to fly. He went to West Point and gave him a hard time. Um, he became a general and a commander. It's always fascinating to tell these stories. But in that is a story right there. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
he led the Tuskegee Airmen. Like, wait, what? You know, and so um my brains get a little foggy every once in a while, guys. So, you know, it's interesting, but there's stories in that, and we are the history, we are the storytellers, and it's small pockets. And so what do we do? So, you know what I mean? Darrell said, let me pop that up. I had a similar conversation with a podcast yesterday who was telling me how much my journey is inspiring to them, which is encouraging to hear because it doesn't feel like it right now.
Yes.
Brother, it should. It's a
And
journey.
it doesn't.
Yeah, you know,
I'm with
um,
him. It doesn't. Because you're just walking in obedience, and then the obedience, there's the struggle. So it's like he said, I don't feel like I'm being this impactful because it's, on one side, I'm thinking about the struggle, the struggle of it.
mhm. Yeah, and if by the way, we know this is shared on multiple pages, but if you're looking to comment, there's only two places you can comment on this, which is the Black Filmmakers Lounge actual page, not the group page, and the YouTube channel. So just letting y'all know, in case you got something you want to say or put out there, or some questions you want to ask. Um, but so in that, when you think of that, we are Black history, right? Um, I know you consider the films you make and who you're talking about, right? Because there's so many. We're multifaceted people, and as filmmakers, we're multifaceted as filmmakers. So we have to be mindful and careful, um, or do we need to be totally mindful, careful of presentation all the time? And it goes to and I asked this question. It was so funny because I asked my students, I said, "You guys know what tweens are?" And they're like, "Yeah." And they were like, "It's kids from 10 to 12." I'm like, "No, you're the tweens." And they're like, "What?" I said, "Middle school kids are tweens."
Well, once
No,
you
no,
reach
no, we're
13,
teenagers. I said,
yeah.
"No, you're not a teenager until you're high school. You're not considered a teenager in business." They're like, "What?"
See,
Yeah.
I'm like them. Tweens to me was not basically 9 to 12 or
Those
10 to
are
12.
kids. That's youth and kids. That's it. 13 is that kind of that, like, middle, but tweens go up to 13 in business. And then 13, maybe towards the end of 13, but really 14 up is teenagers. In some places, they don't even, we were reading the business thing, they didn't even consider them teenagers until they were actually 16.
Wow. If it say
We were
13,
looking at business and we were thinking, but it's
yeah,
business. We're talking a business language versus what we personally think or what
right.
makes sense to us. Um, and I was like, wow, tweens. And then we were like, I was having a conversation with the gentleman on Sunday. We hung out and we were talking about film, and he watches the show every now and then. So I am going to say hi to him for his support. So thank you, Kai Jackson, for your support of the Black Filmmakers Lounge. Appreciate you, man. And we were talking about lack, right? And I told him my philosophy. Instead of complaining so much about something where I see a lack of, I see the opportunity. Now, it may not be my opportunity because it may not be what I want to do, but you got to decide, is it what you want to do? But when the conversation came up, and you and I have talked about this for a long time, there's a lot of filmmakers make for adults. A good majority of black filmmakers make movies for adults. Even young black filmmakers who are in college are making it for adults instead of looking at an audience that's missing. Where there's lack, there's opportunity. So we're talking about that the tweens, um, in between teens, in middle schoolers. If you look at the content, it's Y7. We were talking about Moon Girl. Moon Girl is Y7, young, 7 years old, starting with 7 years old up, right? And so then there's content for little bitty kids when you're looking at your ones and to your threes, to your fours and fives. And so we, as black content creators or filmmakers, media, we're missing a group which is so vital. Here's the part we don't think about. The content we create is part of kids' upbringing. And the age group that is maturing and trying to settle into who they are your tweens. So the information they are getting or that they accept about society is shaping them before they get to high school. That's the maturity page. That's when they're going to puberty. They're looking at, who am I? What group of people am I trying to fit in with? That's middle school. That's that from 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade. That's what they're trying to do. We have the beauty of making films that can help foster and cultivate that growth and that level of maturity. But we're negating them. And so when the problems come for our community in high school and college, more so in high school, where they're finding it tougher and you got guns coming to schools now and stuff, we aren't helping them. I just wanted, where there's lack, there's opportunity. So I'm speaking to some filmmaker who's like, who can my audience be? I've seen some films where people try to dumb it down or really childize it, where it's for little tiny kids to watch and they're aiming it towards tweens, but it's not. It doesn't grab them. It's how you shoot it, how you tell it. Like they watch, listen, I'm gonna be real. My students watch Deadpool. They watch all the Marvel stuff. They watch horror movies. They watch rated R movies. They watch it all.
Because they either
So,
have to step up or step down, and they're going to step up and watch
right.
those movies versus the Blues Clues.
Yeah. I mean, they'll talk about Blue's Clues. They'll laugh. They do look at cartoons. They look at anime. They're kids. Still, there's that inkling of childhood in them. But I've seen people try to go too low. They're not the ones, follow the bouncing ball. No, they're not that one. You got to give them something for real. And if you make them think a little bit and challenge them, then you're pushing them. And that's good because they like stuff. I do riddles in the classroom. Riddles are brain exercises to me. Make them think. Now the ones I'll be like, no, don't cheat. Don't search the web. Think. Put down your device. Think. Consider what's being said. Listen, because it builds listening skills and stuff. So filmmaking, what are we doing? That's just kind of like, there's an audience we're missing. When I we used to invite filmmakers to come talk to my students. Their movies were way too mature for them. And that was high school. Like, you can't show that. So that we make more content we can't show. So we're missing an audience. Like, and there are a small group of black filmmakers who are making content for education or educational purposes, because that's a huge audience and that's a huge money market, by the way, that schools can use the short films. And when I mean short films, like if you make a film, think about this. There's a place for short films. People used to be like, well, there's no place in the industry for short films. They're right. in Hollywood, short films are a calling card. They're practice. They're a test run of what you're trying to create, things like that. But in the real world, a good short film about a good topic, bless you, TK, a good topic such as, like we talked about, cancer, American Heart Association, things like that, that can be used for those types of organizations, right? A good short film. Actually, on Amazon, there was a group of filmmakers who got together and directed some shorts as an anthology on the subject of cancer, how does it impact women and stuff. Um, and you can go check it on Amazon. I'm trying to remember who. Kerry Washington, I think, was one of the people involved in directing. Um, there's quite a few, but if we're talking about education, though, which, like I said, is a missing audience. Imagine start early. You grab your audience early enough, and they stay with you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what businesses do. I don't know. What's your take, TK?
Well, when you talk about lack, when I first started writing, it was called to write. The first three scripts I wrote were out of lack. So I wrote a rated R Christian movie. I wrote a tween teen camp movie, and I
Mm-hmm.
did 4 table reads with tweens, non-ethnic, tweens that were ethnic. I did high school, and then I did it high school, both groups. So I did
Okay.
4 table reads to make sure the comedy and everything crossed over between each group.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that. And then The Garter, which is going to be the second film I actually shoot. Um, it's about positive male image. So those 3 things, when I first started, those were the first 3 things I did. I was like, mm. So God gave me that movie, got this movie, this movie, this movie. I was like, because I felt there was a lack, and then that just happens to be the movies that I was given to write. Because that was exactly why. It was like there's nothing for the tweens. They either have to go up or they have to go down. There is nothing for them at all. And so that's why I ended up making Camp Wanna Poo Poo, which I think somebody came out with a Camp Wanna Poo Poo.
Really?
Oddly enough, I gotta double check it. I was just thinking about that because I remember like some months ago I saw something and I was like, I need to change the name. Like, what are the chances? Like I wrote a camp song and everything.
Oh
I literally
wow.
wrote the camp song, everything. I have a whole camp, everything. Never been to camp. And it was funny. So this lady that worked at Disney, she worked at Disney for like 25 years. She was like, TK, gosh, this just reminds me so much of when I went to camp. Oh my goodness, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, good, because
Mm.
I'd never been. Um, I've never been. I just made it all up and it was on point, you know. So but yeah, so no, I'm with you on the lack thing, and but it is interesting enough when we describe what lack is, because sometimes we don't know what lack is
Mm-hmm.
and what is lacking in certain areas. So, and I say that to say, like, when I start writing the STEM movies, about,
Right.
Project Him, I kind of felt it, but because I was given the story, I have to wait till I get a story and then it's flushed out before I can write it. So the STEM movie, I was like, okay. I was so happy that I was given a STEM movie to write because I wanted to empower, our young girls. Period. And then of course the very next movie was Jade, and I didn't realize that movie there's a lack. The particular movie I was given is an
Mm-hmm.
unorthodox faith-based film, or we definitely are lacking, to me, in that area. So that was the first and that was the last one I wrote. We're definitely, because like I said, it's like the person in the movie stumps their toe and they fall out, and and they just give their whole life to Christ because they stumped their toe. It's like, no, no, it's some of us that had to go through some stuff to get back around. And
Yeah.
when we reaching a certain audience and telling a certain audience, baby, you can't tell no wishy-washy rainbow stories if you really
Mm-hmm.
trying to reach people. And I didn't write this as a faith base. It was just something God revealed to me a year later. that it was an unorthodox faith-based film. And I was like, woo, good, because I love those and we need those. That's the kind of movies I like for me. I mean, so that's what I have to say about that. But
No,
agreed.
that's a powerful way to look at it because when I did my first feature, it was a faith-based film as well,
Mhm.
right? And I wanted to go through the process of recognizing God in your life. Not the, hey, I just prayed and everything's fixed. Oh,
Bring,
pray with me
bring.
and we'll get through this. And that's what they did. And I was like, but that's not real. And I didn't want everything to happen in a church because the church is people, it's not a building. And a
Right.
lot of people I've talked to, they weren't saved in the church. I remember in the film, one of the guys tells a real story. He included into the film because I gave him a moment to ad lib about something. And he was just like, um, their faith in God, right? And he said he met a guy who was an Indian, who happened to be a Christian, and he said the difference between his faith and our faith is we go to God, oh God, I can't pay my bills. Please help me find the money to pay my bills. And the Indian man told him, he said, but God is bigger than your bills. God is bigger than your problems. Your problems are actually small compared to God, but you
Mhm.
only go to God when you have a problem. It was so interesting because he was like, it's selective, it's not unconditional, it's not like, hey, God is bigger than all this. Whatever I'm going through is God's bigger than that. And it depends, like, again, for the show's sake and everybody who watches, it depends on what you believe, you know. But at the end of the day, that's something for me because to me, that drove the point. Like whatever we go through, God is bigger than what we're going through.
Mhm.
You know, and life only ends one way. You
Hmm.
know how interesting we don't when you stop and think for it, life only ends one way, right? Um, and it was funny because there was a movie that a guy introduced me to on YouTube. It was a short, and it was a Asian movie, things Korean American film. The name of the group was called Wong Fu. So what I used to tell people is watch Wong Fu because they were making and producing high quality YouTube videos on a movie level.
Mm.
And they were
Wow.
having fun with it. And it was fun. It was interesting. It was poignant. And one of the films was about breaking up. And it was a couple, they argue. And in the argument, you get his perspective, how they got together and then how they broke up, how it comes back around full circle, breaking up, meeting someone and losing them comes in full circle. And in it, a poignant point they make is, and it stuck with me. And I was like, that's the thing about writing. That's the thing about storytelling. The part that stuck with me is when he's talking to his girlfriend at the table and he says, there's only two options to this dating thing. We're either going to break up or we're going to get married.
Period.
It doesn't go any other way. Like, there's nothing else. You're either gonna break up or get married. Now, yeah, some people stay dating for a while. That's because they're trying to avoid the inevitable. You're either gonna break up or get married. And it was like, well, that boom, there you go. Something to leave your audience thinking. And it was so interesting because again, we were talking about the criteria list
Mhm.
earlier that we'll post, and that fits in that criteria. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and post it right now since we
I was
talking.
just thinking that.
So my students are learning filmmaking, right? We do short films, independents, all that stuff. They did silent films going around for one of my classes. And here's their film review criteria because they have to review other group members' films. And so it's originality, the uniqueness and originality of the premises of the story. Now, keep this in mind. A lot of stories aren't really original. They're from a perspective. And what I'm saying is there are original stories that do come out. We see something that's a little unique, but it still fits in some category. It might the way they tell it is unique, right? It's how they wrap it, the wrapping paper. That's how I look at it. Creativity, right? The effective use of imagination as evidence in the entry. So basically, they kind of like my little classroom festival thing. Um, Plot, pacing, structure, characters, cinematography, sound quality. Even though they're doing, in this case, silent films because they'll do dialogue based, they use music. So we look at the music. Some kids may add sound effects in there, but no talking. Like they already know that, right? Music score, right? How they select that music. Um, Entertainment value, dialogue, message effectiveness. And what I told my students, I said, if you have to add words to tell us what's going on in the story, then visually it's not effective. You should be able to watch a short silent film. And some silent films had dialogue. It had those little black pop up and the words pop on the screen. They did that too. But I like to challenge people to say storytelling, especially on the film side, is visual. So it's very important that we practice the visual aspect of it. That if I was, let's say I spoke another language, I didn't understand your English language. Even if I read what's on that thing, I'm not going to get it. So it wouldn't matter. But what I visually see is universal. How characters act, how they respond to a situation, what they do or don't do. That's universal. Right? Pictures are universal. Think about it. Picture is always universal because whether you frown or smile or smirk, the world knows what you're doing. They see it. And that language does not change no matter the different language you speak. Call to action. So like I was saying earlier, the call to action would be, if you're in a relationship, you only got two options. And that's also the message effectiveness. There's only two options. So that last part that fits, what do you want people to do? Well, if you're dating, are you planning to marry somebody, or are you just going to break up with them? Are you just trying to hold on to a piece of the relationship with no true intentions of having any real direction of where it's going? So your relationship is actually in limbo. Purgatory. Like that's what it is. It's because you're not making a decision. But that's the criterion. But I was thinking for us as independent filmmakers, we should use the same criteria for our films. And I'm sure film festivals use this as well when they're judging your films.
And you have to give it to someone else, because if you do this for your own film, like there's a
Mhm.
like, because we'll write a film and it'll be like, that didn't come across, and I was like, no, it says like, but no, that's not. And two, three people say the same thing. It's like, well, I guess it didn't come across. So you have to change
Mm.
it. So when we're judging our own films, so like I said, I used to have 5 readers. I think it was like a producer, director, audience. Like I used to have 5 readers.
Mhm.
Then I had to back it down to I no they would none hold on. They would none of us give us that give me what I needed, except this one person, my friend. She's always like, I don't understand. I don't understand. Like that's her favorite thing. I swear that's her favorite line. Love her to death. That's my girl, but that's what she say. So I literally give her the script. So on page 3, she says blah blah blah. Okay, now on page 4, now on page 9, and she gives me play by play. So if you find someone that is, usually I say nosy people. Nosy people are really good at this.
Mhm.
Um, nosy, nosy people are really good at it. So you got somebody that's just nosy and they always looking into people's business and all that kind of stuff. Those are the perfect people, because they want to know and see everything, and you gotta get that reveal right. You know what I mean? You gotta get it right for them, because they have a certain expectation already, the way they live their life and they think. So this person, even though she's not in the film industry, she has been the absolute perfect reader for me. I even when I write scripts, I'll be like, hey, I have a reader, so I know we're reading it, but can I get it to my reader to make sure she's okay with it? Because I'm like, if she ain't okay with it, nobody's okay with it. Like, we got to get this thing right. So
Right.
the person doesn't have to be in the industry to understand good storytelling, but they have to be keen enough so don't think that you have to get somebody that with certain titles to actually tell you, what's wrong with your story. Or they're in the industry, they're the director, or they've written 15 feature films, or they directed 20 movies. It doesn't have to be anyone like that to help you get your story straight.
Actually,
So
let's
just
talk
keep
about
that.
that because this was posted on the internet, so you'll probably see it floating around on Facebook. But I thought it was a good image to share, right? If you haven't seen it. So this is from John Singleton's Boys in the Hood um, submission to the Orion Pictures Corporation Story Department, right? This is the submission sheet. And on here, you got it's a screenplay, it's 100 pages, right? When it was done, 12/13/89. Now remember, it came out in 91. Think about that, right? Took a while. Who was it submitted by? Brad Smith, submitted to Hutch Parker, analyst SJG. Um, Date May 23rd, 1990. Keep that in mind too. Um, Title was Boys in the Hood. Author John Singleton. Done in the present. So it's based circa is basically when will this take place? Location was South Central LA. Um, Category melodrama. And here are the elements. Here's the writing sample. Here's the theme. This is your log line, your theme, right, of your story in a sense, right? Then he gave him a short synopsis. Now, if you look, here's their grading. Premises, fair. Characterization, poor. Dialogue, poor. Storyline, poor. Budget, low. Recommendation. Now, you don't see the recommendation yet. But this is something, like I said, you find this on the internet. This is floating around there. But it's something to think about. Like when you submit to a major studio, they grade your work. Just like a film festival is grading your work. And so when you get around people, like TK was saying earlier, you want somebody to grade your work. You want people to respond to what you're putting out there to give you an idea. Hopefully, so you guys can see this. I'm sorry. So again, we're looking at this part, the premises, characterization, dialogue, storyline. And again, it was low budget. A lot of our films end up being low budget. But who's looking at this? That's always look, the movie got made, and it is in our community, this is a cult classic film. We always say
Yeah.
this is one of the best films ever made because we understood the language in which it was speaking to us, the messages that were in the film. And TK, I don't use a bunch of adjectives. Look, the tragic life of a bright black teenager in South Central Los Angeles, where he sees gangs, shootings, and drugs destroy the lives of his friends.
Simple.
Very simple.
Very simple.
And here's the thing: somebody might not take it, somebody else will. Right? It just depends. And what one person grades it, it's a testament is sometimes people don't understand you. And so I just, put that there. But as again, we are Black history when we talk about us and talk about our films. What were your thoughts when you saw that, TK? What were you thinking about?
I was thinking about You know what thought just came to mind right now when you just asked me that?
Your
The
film,
triangle.
how your film was graded? Because you got high remarks on yours, though.
What film? Which one?
Which one did you submit? They graded it, and you got all the
Oh, I
yeah,
did.
and you
That was
got
crazy. But when you just showed me that,
mm-hmm.
the first thing that popped in my mind, which is hilarious, was the triangle commercial.
Okay, yeah. Oh, the
That
Doritos.
think about so when you think about the analogy, think about the parallel between the Doritos commercial, how he did all that work and he became popular and famous and he did what he was supposed to, Dorito, and then the
Mm-hmm.
industry recognized Elton John's.
Right. Oh, wow.
So that popped dead in my head. But I've had of course I've had 850 million rejections over over the course of my career. And so when we submitted this film that we are being funded for right now, called Sonic Boom, we when we sent the criterion to this Hollywood critique place, and they fix scripts and they do the whole gamut from beginning to end. So
Mm-hmm.
they're looking for work for themselves, of course.
Right.
And when they sent me back a 2-page report on that script, I literally called people, read it to them, and cried. I could
Mm-hmm.
not believe it. I had 3 minor notes. One was to add a second super because I had put a flashback and put the year, and they
Right.
would like just add a super. Then the second note was like, this person should say this instead of this person.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was one more minor note. But then they were writing and they were like, we think this character, this, and that. Well, I guess you're right that with this character, I guess he is fine where he is because I just liked him and he was my favorite character and I hated this and la. So this leave it alone. So that was then it was like, and this is the part where we tell you what's wrong with your script. But
Mm-hmm.
since can't find anything wrong after reading it twice, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you what my favorite parts were. I'm reading the thing like you're freaking kidding me. I was blown away. I literally was blown away because I'm at the point now. If it passes my reader, God gave me the story. It passes my readers. Then I'll send it to like after I get the first reader. Then when I think I'm almost done, I'll send it to
Mm-hmm.
you, Michael. I'll send it or Tiffany. Whichever one. I'll send it to one of you guys, and then I'll send it like to Dana or something. A couple of more people after I get like that third or fourth draft. So I'm used to getting notes back and critiques from my people, but they're not critiques like like just throw the whole script away. They're like,
Right.
oh, this is
Yeah.
good, TK. But I think Deja ought to say something here, just stuff like that, like to enhance the story. So when I got that back from them, I almost fell out. And the fact that the script had been pitched to Hulu, 21st Century Fox, and all these other people, and they weren't like, go find another writer. This girl is not experienced enough. You need somebody else on this, a WGA writer. They didn't do any of that. So all the people, not just that production house, but
Mm-hmm.
all the other people that he had sent it to, nobody came back with a suggestion that it needed a second writer or even a rewrite.
Right.
So I literally was shocked because I'm not expecting, like I always say, and Darrell knows, I've told him, I was like, hey, if you read, it's not about me, it's about the project. So if you see something,
Mm-hmm.
say something. What they say, you see something, say something.
Yeah, and because you're really critiquing, because it depends. As independent filmmakers, there's a couple things we look at, right? We may work with a script writer, or we may write the script, right? Um, the script ultimately for business, final script comes down to the producer. It comes down to two things: what the producer wants and the budget. Things get cut because it's over budget. Things get removed because the producers don't feel it's worth having in the film, or it's wasted. Like oh, um, you got to understand those things, because ultimately a producer's job is to make a film that makes investors money. There and so the beautiful part on the independent side is a producer's side may be to tell a story that people aren't familiar with, because the
Mhm.
producer's more passionate when it's independent. But when it's industry, They're in here to make money. And yes, there's messages. People have an agenda. People have messages. We get that. But ultimately, most cases, most cases, they're here to make money.
And they didn't even think, listen, they didn't even think they were going to make money off Boys in the Hood because it was so poor. We wouldn't pick this up. It wouldn't make $2. And look what happened. And
Mm-hmm.
Precious, I looked up Precious because someone did said my film, Jade Hart was similar to Precious.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Precious made 63.6 million in the box office. Who would have thunk that it would have made 63.6 million in the box office? Mind you, all the accolades it got from all the film festivals.
Yeah, Oscars, everything. I mean, and you
And
gotta,
everything. Come on.
and so you kind of think about that, right? But the only thing like I have a problem with stuff like that is, and this is not a testament to Precious itself, is this that for me, the black films that win Oscars in most cases or get nominated are usually trauma.
That's the you know what, and that's the only thing I did. When God gave me Jade and I was doing it, I was like, and then I'm working on these movies here, and every movie we got a strip club scene, and I mean, when the strip, I'm like, so when God gave me this movie, I was like, it's a stripper movie. You know what I mean? And then
Mm-hmm.
a year later, he's like, no, this is a faith based movie. And let me tell you why. So it's like, and that's what I thought too, because the investor link was like, I don't know who's going to play this grandmother, but she's going to win an Oscar just like Monique did. And I was like, and I thought about that. I was like, it's kind of sad that, you know, the black movies with the black trauma or whatever are the ones that win Oscars instead of just a really good freaking movie,
Yeah.
black film. And so, but I was like, you know what? I'm ready for the smoke. So when I start talking about this, is not just a movie about tragedy. This is an unorthodox faith-based film. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? When I start talking about that, and what? How did you come up with this and this and that? Listen, this is just not a movie about tragedy. This is a movie that's bigger than that. About and so that was the disheartening thing on that one part for me is like, oh yeah, I bet it would win awards with the certain audiences because they
Mm-hmm.
like to see this type of black situation, movies. So that was a little disheartening, but I'm like, you know what? It's still bigger, Lord. You got a bigger agenda, you got a bigger picture for it. So I have to get past that, you know, that thought process. But that's
Right.
exactly what I was thinking. I was like, mm, like,
But
like,
but the thing is, and that's why I say for us in this topic of We Are Black History, it's still a story you got to tell because of the effects of oppression, the
mhm.
effects of Jim Crow, the impact on us financially, psychologically, um, our mental health, how we deal with America, because America still doesn't want to admit how intricate we've been a part of this country. I mean, when you refer to something as critical race theory, when it's technically just telling the truth, that's a problem in itself,
Okay, it's
right?
not a theory.
Right. There's
It's
no
not a
theory in it.
theory.
It's just
You want to see the marks? Yeah.
tell the truth. The damage is done. And this is where filmmaking is such a big thing for us because we get to make films that enlighten or make people aware or
Mm-hmm.
bring something to the forefront that so many people have been like, push it back. I'll give you an example. Right now, Malcolm X's family is trying to sue the government, CIA, and FBI for his death, right? And I think it's like 100 billion, a little over, is what they're going for.
Oh, that's
But
interesting. Why are they trying to
but
sue them?
here's the funny thing. It's not funny, but the ironic thing is they should, because remember that the FBI and CIA tapped, monitored King, Malcolm, Garvey. I mean, these entities have done our leaders that they didn't select. They monitored them and all this stuff, and they knew they were going to be assassinated. They knew because you're monitoring everything.
Oh, because you're monitoring, so you had the intel and knew what
You
was going to happen
so
because
if
you
you
had already
didn't
tapped
stop it,
everything.
right, you are an in law enforcement entity. You knew something would take place. You either participated or the lack of stopping it It's still participation to me. If I watch somebody mug you and I go, okay, and I knew that they were going to mug you and I said nothing to you, hey, keep walking or get in your car, go, something, or stop it,
I
call the
got you.
cops, whatever. I'm an accessory, honestly.
I got you.
You see what I'm
Okay.
saying? They to me, they're accessory. They knew something was going to happen, or they participated in those assassinations. Knowing or participating to me is still being accessory because you could have did something to prevent those things. Where would we be now if King and X were still here? You know, what difference would happen? And again, that's something we got to talk about because
Ooh, 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 ooh.
what's up? Because I was going to post Darrell. What's he got?
Okay, Darrell, if you getting it from me, you know what you finna get. Speaking, if anybody know they finna get it if you speak with me. Speaking of industry, I'm toying with the idea of moving to California for more opportunities. Things have been slow and tight over here. I'm thinking getting a job at a production company or working sets while working my own projects. Insight.
What you think? What you got?
Darrell, that is absolutely a fabulous idea. Period. Whether Atlanta or California, but Darrell, you already know what I'm gonna say. Ask God the simple question: if you should move and where you should move. But I think that's depth because the thing is, you get the experience. You get the experience, and you get to work your own. You get to make your own schedule when you're working in the industry. Of course, there are pros and cons to it, but just like it's pros and cons to us sitting at home being independent filmmakers as well, without working in the industry. So, of course, I do industry jobs, changing positions,
Mm-hmm.
but I do industry jobs, and absolutely um, being able to work in the industry and be able to, because you gain more team members as well. You gain a network, you gain more team members, like actors
Yeah.
and team members that I got from my film was based off people I've worked with on set. I didn't even like I have 6 positions I think to cast, really 5 positions to cast, and maybe a couple of, no, I think all my crew, maybe a couple of crew members. That's it. But everybody I've worked with over the last year and a half, I can fill those positions quickly because I've worked with these people. So I think that's a great idea. Definitely pray about it, and see if that is the route you're supposed to take and where you're supposed to move. So that's what I'm gonna give you, because I
Yeah.
didn't ask to come to Atlanta at all. I was told to come to Atlanta. A culture needs all types of stories to be told. That includes films that we may not agree with. Tyler, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
We need everything. We need everything. We need, we need
Well, do you
everything.
do you think other communities are like, don't make this film, or you can't make this film, or don't do this? It's a balance. It's all about balance, right? They
Balance,
got
yeah.
you got horror films, you have gangster films, you have nobody's saying to Martin Scorsese, stop making gangster Italian movies. No one says that. I don't know. I'm not in the room to be privy to the conversation, but I don't see it on social media like
Because
I
I
do
still
for
want
us.
Goodfellas is one of my favorite movies.
You
Did he
know,
make Goodfellas?
because
Did Martin Scorsese make Goodfellas?
yeah,
Did he
yeah,
make?
I thought he did.
Did
Yeah,
he? Let me.
yeah.
Okay. I was
Um,
like, who made Goodfellas? That's
so
one of my favorite movies.
but like
Goodfellas.
at the end of the day,
Yeah.
um, we're to telling people all the time, don't do this, don't do our own people. Listen, if somebody makes a drug dealing film, they make it. But do you make the family film? Since you were complaining as a filmmaker, do you go make the different films? When people say, "Oh, you got too many films about women," do you make films about black men and what they go through? It's easy to complain. Where there's lack, there's opportunity. And we are, like I said, Black history. So, and I gotta say this because I know TK got something on her mind right now. So I'm gonna let TK say it. But whatever you do, be intentional about it. That's it. Whatever you do, be intentional.
Y'all know how I complain about the critics and stuff, right? Y'all
Mm-hmm.
not gonna believe this. Y'all are not gonna believe this. Goodfellas, 8.7 out of 10 on IMDb. 96% Rotten Tomatoes. 47.1 million at the box office. This was in 1990, but did you guys hear me? But you know what? I guarantee if I look up the DVD sales, because that's when DVD, because I bought the DVD. That's when DVD sales were big back then.
Mm-hmm.
I guarantee if I look up the DVD sales, it was probably bigger. But that's kind of surprising. 47.1 million, but I guess it was 1990. But that's still kind of
What was the budget to make it? That would be the question. What was their budget?
but
Right?
when you,
Because was how big of a return on investment was it?
yes, but the budget was 25 million.
So they only made half
But
their money back.
when you think about yesterday money and today money, that's 30 years ago money.
But no, but listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So if they made 40 something million at the box office, they only brought back half of the money they spent to make it
Right,
after,
but I
costs.
think if I could find the DVD sales, I
Hmm.
mean
That
the
might be
VHS,
higher. They might have increased it.
that's what I'm saying because VHS we bought all because I know I bought it. Like I'm pretty
We got a nice little comment. Godmother University said, "You guys look great. Great discussion, much needed. We appreciate you, Godmother University, for that.
oh
Thank
thank
you
you
very,
godmother.
very much. That's cool though, Godmother. Thank you, Godmother, for that. And we talk about
Godmother.
Goodfellas and the Godmother University pop up. I
I
tell
know good
you,
godmother popped in right when I'm talking about Goodfellas. But yeah, if we pull up the VHS sales, I guarantee you they were pretty high. I
right?
can't find it, but I'm pretty
But you know
sure.
what? When I was studying the industry back then, right, when I was first coming, the study I saw and the statistics were that DVD sales, straight to home DVD sales, made up for 60% of the motion picture industry's income. So they 60%. It wasn't the movies going to the theater. It was the
Right.
movies being sold at Best Buy and Sam Goody and Kimmel and all the stores,
Yeah.
that was making the and they were going straight to DVD. It wasn't what was released in the movie theater or anything like that. And so, because here's the other aspect. Back then we had Blockbuster, Hollywood Video, Arrows, whatever else was around, like all the independent video stores and everything. Um,
Hmm.
but as an independent filmmaker, you had better chances selling your DVD. Like we did pretty decent selling our DVD out the trunk of a car,
Hmm.
or when I traveled having DVDs to sell. They did pretty good at $20 a DVD. I'm not gonna say I didn't. I'm going to say it worked out pretty well. Now, books sold better. I will say that, but the books were cheaper. When I got a book pressed up, it cost me $1 per book. Actually, the one book that did the better sales cost me 80 cents per book.
Oh wow.
Um, because I was selling at $12.99. So that's the business aspect of things that we have to learn to talk about because people are in this for the business. So,
Yep.
and the question is, are DVDs coming back? Because there was a discussion about platforms and how movies are quickly removed off of platforms, and how will that impact people? Because right now your movie's on Tubi. Let's just say that tomorrow Tubi could shut down. Not saying they are. I'm just saying that's what you factor in when you're thinking about business. Right now, we're on Facebook and YouTube. But tomorrow, thank you for the shout out. Thank you.
Mhm.
Uh, so tomorrow, Facebook could be like, right now, because Facebook's making some changes. Everybody now, remember when Facebook said they weren't going to charge, everything was going to be free? They started charging you for ads. Now they're going to start charging, following suit with Twitter, and start charging you for the check. And remember that Facebook owns Instagram. So the check you're going to pay, it's either $14.99 or $15.99 a month to have that check by your name. right?
Oh, that's all a check
Verification check.
costs. Well, everybody named Mama finna have a
No,
check
it
now.
used to be free.
$15 a
It
month.
used to be free. But here's what's going to happen with Facebook and Instagram. If you have that check and you're paying for it, it assures that you get greater viewership or recognition from your audience of who's watching you. Because again, everybody's in the business of making money. They're starting to lose money selling your information. There's only so much you can sell of a person. Their email address, their phone number, all that. That's why they collect that stuff. Like I keep trying to tell people, I don't give them my phone number. Listen, I try not to give you my phone number in a message. But they collect that stuff. So at the end of the day, we have to understand that this is a business. And everybody in business is in the business of making money.
Everybody
So
in the business of making money.
here we go. We got Truth Factory. It says, do you think the movement against black exploitation movies in the 70s was wrong? I love a lot of movies that are considered black exploitation. So let's talk about black exploitation because I think the definition has been distorted. Black exploitation movies were actually movies that white studios and producers and directors made about us during that time period so they can make money because they saw that a Melvin Van Peebles, that Dolomite, other creators, Rudy Raymond, all of them were making money making their own films in our community. And they didn't want to lose that money. So they started jumping on making more films about us, to us. So there's a thing about that, right? And so what we've done is we said all those movies during that time period are black exploitation. No, not all those movies during that time period. It's the movies that the major studios started making are considered black exploitation. But is it so because it's somebody else exploiting you for their money, for their advancement, right? It's not because can you exploit yourself? I mean, that's business. You're gonna if you Beyonce technically exploits herself. She's in business to put herself out there, make money, da 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 da. That's be the exploitation. But what you're doing is you're capitalizing off of yourself, right?
Yep.
That's what we are doing.
Yep.
So I don't see it that way, right? I think we labeled it in the wrong way. But I couldn't say, hey, because it kind of helped us at the same time. It's what we let them make more stories of because it's what people are coming out today. There's videos of what people are saying about us coming out. And I always tell people, I said, you have to remember there's a mentality to something. And the older generation that was around in the 60s and 70s and the 80s, their mentality is still there. And now that they're getting on social media and stuff, they're talking more. It's interesting. So here's Godmother University said this. This is kind of interesting, right? Personally, I would love to see color in Bible-based movies. I believe imagery matters. So
and Hamilton is a great example of that because Hamilton, they took a story and put, of course, Bible, we know in the Bible there are different ethnicities. We know that, you know what I mean? But
well,
when
I wouldn't totally say that.
When she said that, well, I'm talking about not like, I'm talking about like the Gentiles, the Israelite, you know what I mean? I'm talking
groups.
about the groups. But when she posted that, it made me think of Hamilton, how they took Hamilton and just really, because when you think of the Bible based, when I think of Bible, when I read the Bible, I think of characters of every single ethnic group and color. I think of everything.
See,
you know what I mean?
Don't. I think historically it's us.
Right. And I'm saying what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I guess because the world is full of different ethnic groups and colors and stuff. So when I read the Bible, even though I know the origin, I do know the origin. I'm not confused about that. I'm not confused about the origin. But when I think of it and I'm reading, You know what I mean? I just like
No, I
thinking
get
the
what you're
whole
saying.
world, like he got the whole world in his hands. I'm thinking the whole world, like, just the whole world. Because these ethnic groups and everybody had to come from they had to come from somewhere and be
There was a
somewhere.
basis, right? And I look at
Exactly.
we were the basis, right? And
Yes,
before then,
absolutely.
because you got Pangea, right? We were looking at time period, but we had Pangea, and where all
Mhm.
the continents can actually fit together as a puzzle piece. And but if we're saying, and even historically, they have said we started in Africa. They have
Right.
said they started in Africa, and that the first woman was black, the first man was black, and so that's what I look at
Mhm.
when I read the Bible, and because you talk about Yahushua,
Mhm.
he was black,
Mhm.
and I remember a gentleman, Pierre, I can't remember his full name. He came out with The Color of Christ,
Mhm.
right? No, Color of the Cross. His movie was called The Color of the Cross. And I was like, I watched how people like it's very controversial. And like white people said nothing. Like it wasn't controversial. They were trying to make because controversy sells. But they said nothing. And it died. The movie kind of died. Like, I think I
Is it?
own a copy of it. You know what I mean? Like I own a copy of it. And but no one said nothing. Now, the way the story was told, it was racial slurs and stuff that I wouldn't have done that. Everybody would have been black because of where it was located, who we're
Mhm.
talking about.
Mhm.
But that's why I like when I think of audiobooks, I have the inspiration Bible,
Mhm.
inspired by Bible. And you had all the black actors, Denzel,
Oh
everybody's on
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
They were doing
And I was
that.
like, why didn't they make this a cartoon? Because the voices matched, the sounds, the audio, you felt like you were there.
Wow.
Right? And
Wow.
I was like, they should have made this an animated cartoon. And but why don't we do that, right? But I know people, but here's the thing about what you were saying, Godmother, about the Godmother University. Uh I say Godmother.
You just say
So
godmother.
here's the thing. What I look at is we can make those stories, but also um we can modernize it. It's all modern. Like if you took
It's
Job,
all modern.
You got a man who loses his job, loses his family, loses everything, and his wife just goes, "You see, you're stupid. Just die. Why don't you just die? Why don't you just give up?" And then let's just say he says, "I'm not gonna do any of that." And they get divorced. She leaves him. Kids are gone, no job, everything. She abandons him. But he wins it all back. He gets a new
Come on,
wife.
somebody.
That's a
Double.
movie. That's still a
Okay,
movie.
sorry.
Go no,
Yeah.
you got it. Go ahead, sis.
No, I said double. God got
Right?
shoot. Job got double. Come on.
Right. And his friends were like, man, I don't know what you did wrong, but and he didn't do nothing wrong. That was the thing. He's being tested. And so that's where we get to look at, we get to tell those stories. Those stories are free because the premises comes from the word. We pay for it because the printer is printing it, but it's really free. So, I mean, no one
Mhm.
can say, oh, you can't make this story a modern day version of Job. Ah, you know what I mean? And so that's where I say we have the power to make anything. We just decide if there's a
Right.
lack, there's an opportunity. But that's what most films are. If you really stop and think for a second, Pursuit of Happiness is Job. Everything
Come
didn't
on.
happen that way, but think about that for a second. The movie Pursuit of Happiness, Will Smith, that really is Job. He had his son with him. There's a change to the story, but the premise is still the same. He lost everything only to gain that back and more.
RRR.
I
R
haven't
if you
watched it
watch
yet.
RRR, I know good and well. If you are a Christian, you pick that up. Or, I'm gonna say spiritual person, because we just the time. But I know you picked that up. When he left his tribe to go get the one, I said,
Mm.
come. Soon as it happened, I said, baby, I was like, he left it and he endured all of that to go get the one. I said, soon as he did that, I was like, yep, there we go. Like, The Avengers. Which one is the Avengers at the very end? He risks his life and gives his life to save the world
Oh,
by
Iron
going
Man in the last one. Yeah, you know,
to
but
go
he
into the
learned. And that was the thing.
yes.
He learned from that, right?
Yep.
And so, you know, and that's why I say, like, to me is a Black legacy film, like The Pursuit of Happiness, because it's a Black man going through him being torn down as a person and rebuilding himself, loses his
Mm-hmm.
wife. His wife leaves him with the kid. You never hear that story being told. But you know what? There are a lot of Black fathers who are left with the child.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so these are stories that can be told. People say, hey, I do tell movies from a man's perspective. I'm a Black man. I am going to tell it from my perspective because
Right.
I like balance. And when I see an imbalance, I want to balance it out
Right.
so that we can have a better understanding. Because I always tell people, number one, when you see things only from one person's perspective, the rest of the world sees it that way too.
Yep.
And the thing is, Black male, Black female division is a big thing. And it doesn't just happen in movies, but it's happening in the real world, and it goes
I
into the
just had that
films, and everybody feels divided. But we gotta learn to come together. And yet women can win and men can win. You know, and this is why I always question our own people. Who taught you who you were? Because that's what you got to start rethinking. Who taught me about me? When the oppressor, the colonizer teaches you about you, you got to unlearn that and unlearn that behavior that comes with it. And that's division. There should be,
Yeah, because
you
it's
have to
generational.
undivide.
It's generational. Because now
Mm-hmm.
you're talking to your kids that they ain't. You telling your kids they dumb. You telling the kids they stupid and they can't do this. And then 50 years old that your kids are in therapy, but you don't think it matters.
And that's where movies come in, because here's the thing: if every movie is a kid killing each other, gang violence, and all that stuff, that's not. We're more than that. We do
Yeah.
more than that. Just like any community. This is why I do not subscribe to the term black on black crime, because we do not say Asian on Asian crime or Korean on Korean crime, white on white crime. We don't say any crime, but everybody commits crime against the people that look just like them, because it's always about proximity. So do we put that in a movie? Do we break that concept down in a movie? If you watch an all white movie and it's two white guys going at you, oh, that's white on white crime right there. No, you don't. You accept it as this is societal, and this is what happens in certain parts of society amongst people. We don't say those terms, and so we have to stop saying it when it comes to us. We unlearn it.
Crime is
So
crime. Look, okay,
yeah,
crime is crime.
crime is crime. There's different types of crime. There's crimes of passion. You know, think about this and see people like, well, it's only people that fight over girls. No, there was a whole war, Troy. Like a movie based on Troy too, Helen of Troy. It was two guys going at over a woman because the guy stole his girl. That ain't nothing new. Like, and there's a riddle I told my students: I can start wars, I can end wars, and something else. And I said, what am I? And the answer was love. Like, you gotta understand that. But yeah, so we've been hanging out with y'all for a minute. We went a little bit over time, but we trying to keep on our new time flow. All right, TK, is there a 60-second jewel you would like to leave with the audience?
My 60-second gem is going to be what I say periodically throughout the show, and I'm going to say it as my 60-second gem. I was thinking about it. The world didn't give you this gift, so don't let the world run it. That's all I got to say.
All right. Thank you very much for sharing. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So my 60 seconds is real simple. Where there is lack, there is opportunity. Instead of complaining about it, be the solution. My personal slogan I used to say as a kid: I may not be the light, but I will be the spark.
Come on.
So that's how I look at it. Thank you, Godmother University, for all those wonderful diamonds and for joining us today. I definitely appreciate you. Those are gems right there. Oh, okay, those gems. Darrell said, that's why I appreciate being born in 89. Where? young. I was a child around former Black Panthers, and in film, TV, and music, we were everywhere. And for children programming, diversity was
That's so
normal.
good. I wish I
You
grew
know,
up like that. That is a blessing.
we had the Cosby Show and stuff. This is the, I mean, and I don't understand why people dumped on the Cosby Show so much. We grew up. Both parents worked hard to try to have us have a better life. Doesn't end out perfect, but it was something to aspire to. You had to see. Sometimes we got to see the better image versus the negative image. I remember my dad told me he just wasn't a total fan of Good Times because they kept them where they were while they were still making advancements. And that's not realistic. We do advance when we're working hard to make advancements. Why can't we see that? And so, I appreciated that. Why Different Strokes wasn't his thing. He's like,
And that's why the
yeah,
show
for us
ended.
to advance,
That's
somebody
why
else
the
got to
show
take
ended.
us in. That's not realistic.
Yep, that's why the show ended Good Times because of that.
Yeah,
There was
because
she
you
was
can
like
only see
tired of it.
yourself down, but
Yeah.
for so long, and oppressed. We've come very far, and we should see those images, But
Absolutely.
now you got to look at the tropes that are happening in the film industry. When they're rich Black people, they don't help their own community. They're disconnected. It's not true. That's totally not totally true. Yeah, there are aspects. There's aspects of every group that has something in it. But what about the other part that you don't hear about, that you don't see, the ones that are connected, the ones that are trying to build stuff? I remember there was Jack and Jill when we were younger, that kids were involved in. There were ways to connect community. I was part of the Black Student Achievement Program when I was in school, and we went to the meetings and we were part of it, and we met with other Black students. We were always about empowering.
Mm-hmm.
We're bigger than that, so we need to see those images. But as I like to tell y'all, be strategic, intentional, and authentic. And make sure that you communicate, connect with everybody here at the Black Filmmakers Lounge on the Black Filmmakers Lounge community page, because this Saturday morning in the industry,
Oh,
Shop Talk is one of those things. Go ahead, TK, because I know you got something to say about
roundtable,
tomorrow.
guys. We set up a roundtable for tomorrow night. If you're able to, tomorrow early evening, if you're able to join us at 6 to 8 Eastern, 5 to 7 Central. So if you're able to join us and come on and talk, and let's chop it up. Let's lounge in the lounge. All right, all right.
Yep. Send TK your email address on
Yes.
Facebook. She'll send you the connection, the information that you need to know to get into the Zoom. Only certain people are allowed, so you got to communicate. It doesn't go out to everybody. All right, so make sure you do that. And we like to say, hey, I've been your host, Michael Melvin, my co-host, Tamira TK Henderson. We've been hanging out with the Black Filmmakers Lounge. And we just like to let you know, remind you what we are about before we walk out. We are about the Black Filmmakers Lounge is where interdependent filmmakers, whether novelists or professionals, come together to gain insight, perspective through education, information, networking, and to discuss industry best practices that will advance the Black interdependent film community. Knows I threw that in there. We are a place that we come together, creating our own space so that we can succeed together. So we want to let y'all know that. Like, subscribe, share. Definitely share this out. That's how you really build this up and help us out. And we're going to keep it moving. We love you guys. Have a blessed, wonderful weekend. It's good hanging out. And we out. Peace.
Like, subscribe, and share. Hey, like, subscribe, and share. Hey.
We out. Thank you for joining us.